In a world where everyone is screaming to be heard, silence is the loudest voice. We live in a time where opinions are thrown like confetti, where validation is chased like oxygen, and where noise is mistaken for influence. But let me tell you something. True power doesn't announce itself. It arrives quietly. It doesn't demand attention. It commands it. Silence is not weakness. It is strategy. Silence is not absence. It is presence. Silence is not retreat. It is self-control. When you choose silence, you step out of the chaos and into clarity. Because in the stillness, you hear things most people are too distracted to notice. Your own intuition, your own strength, your own truth. Think about it. When someone insults you, they expect a reaction. When you don't give it, they're left with their own noise. When they try to provoke you and you stay composed, it unsettles them more than any argument ever could. Because silence is mysterious and mystery is power, look at the people who truly command respect. They don't need to scream their worth. Their energy speaks before they do. When they finally choose to talk, the world stops and listens. Why? Because their silence has already built gravity around their presence. Silence gives you room to observe, to calculate, to grow. While others are busy proving themselves, you're evolving. While they're caught in drama, you're building destiny. And let's not forget, silence heals. When you withdraw from noise, you protect your peace, you protect your mind, you create a space where you can reconnect with who you really are. So, in a noisy world that constantly demands your reaction, choose silence, not because you have nothing to say, but because you know your words have weight, and when you finally speak, it will matter. Remember, real strength doesn't shout. It simply cannot be ignored. Silence is not weakness. It is strategic power disguised in simplicity. In a world where everyone is desperate to be seen, to be heard, to be validated, choosing silence is like holding a weapon no one expects. People mistake silence for surrender because they cannot understand it. They think if you don't respond, you're lost. If you don't react, you're afraid. But the truth is, silence is never about fear, it's about control. When you choose silence, you take back the power that noise tries to steal. You don't give people the reaction they crave. You don't give situations the chaos they feed on. You simply watch, observe, and stay rooted in your strength. And that unsettles people more than any argument ever could. Because when everyone is loud, the one who is quiet stands out. Imagine a heated room, voices clashing like waves, anger spilling from every mouth. Everyone is fighting to win the moment, to dominate the air with words, and then there's you, calm, still, silent. While they're shouting, you're studying. While they're wasting energy, you're saving yours. That's strategy, because silence isn't the absence of action. It's the highest form of calculated action. It's giving yourself time to read the room, to see people for who they really are when they think you're not paying attention. When you stay silent, you make others uncomfortable, not because you're weak, but because they can't figure you out. They don't know what you're thinking, and the unknown always feels more powerful than what is obvious. It's like a locked door. What's behind it always holds more weight than what's left out in the open. That's why silence creates an air of mystery that even words can't. And mystery, when paired with self-control, becomes influence. The person who speaks all the time loses the value of their words, but the one who chooses carefully, who speaks only when it's necessary, commands attention without asking for it. Silence makes your words rare, and rarity is always valuable. When you finally choose to speak after holding silence, your words carry a gravity they wouldn't have otherwise. People stop. They listen. They take it seriously because they know you don't speak just to fill the space. You speak because it matters. And silence is more than a response to others. It's also a response to yourself. It's how you reclaim your peace in a world that constantly demands you to react. When you hold your silence, you're not letting life pull you in every direction. You're not letting noise invade your focus. You're centering yourself, reminding yourself that not everything deserves your time, not everything deserves your voice. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is say nothing, and let the storm pass without you in it. Silence is strength because it's restraint. It's knowing you could fight, you could shout, you could prove yourself. But you don't need to. It's realizing your value doesn't depend on being seen or heard all the time. True strength doesn't need validation. It doesn't need noise. It just exists, steady, undeniable, unshakable. And that's why silence isn't just a lack of words. It's a presence that speaks louder than all the noise around you. Because when you choose silence, you're not losing. You're winning in ways that can't be measured in the moment. You're preserving your power for the moments that truly matter. Silence protects your energy in ways that words never could. In this world, every conversation, every argument, every reaction costs something. It costs your focus, your emotions, your peace. And most people give it away freely, reacting to everything and everyone, draining themselves without even realizing it. But when you choose silence, you choose to conserve that energy for yourself, for your growth, for the things that truly deserve it. You stop handing out pieces of yourself to people who haven't earned them. You stop engaging in battles that don't lead anywhere. Think about how often we're pulled into noise. Someone criticizes you, someone provokes you, someone tries to make you defend yourself. It feels tempting to explain, to argue, to prove your worth. But what does it really give you? A momentary satisfaction, maybe, but it also gives the other person your time, your emotions, your calm. Silence is the opposite. It's saying, I know my truth. I don't owe it to you to convince you. That decision alone protects you from unnecessary stress, unnecessary drama, unnecessary chaos. It keeps your mind clear and your spirit untouchable. When you refuse to react to every little thing, you create a shield around your peace. You realize that not everything deserves a response, because not everything carries weight. Some things are meant to pass like wind. When you don't chase them, they fade away on their own. But when you give them your energy, they grow. Silence is choosing not to feed what doesn't deserve to live in your space. It's knowing that your calm is more valuable than winning an argument that doesn't matter. And it's not just about people, it's about the world itself. Social media, gossip, distractions, they're all designed to take your attention, to scatter your energy in a million directions. But when you withdraw from that noise, when you stop reacting to every trend, every opinion, every expectation, you find something priceless: focus. You realize how much power there is in keeping your attention sacred. What you don't give energy to cannot control you. Silence is also self-preservation. It's how you recover from the weight of everything you're carrying. It gives you space to breathe, to recharge, to reconnect with yourself. It's in that quiet that you realize what truly matters and what doesn't. It's where you separate the temporary from the meaningful. You can't do that in constant noise. You can't hear your intuition, your inner wisdom, if you're always listening to the world. And this is why silence is so rare. Most people are uncomfortable with it. They feel the need to fill it, to say something, to react. But the one who can sit in silence without anxiety, the one who can stay composed while others crumble, that person is unshakable. That person is powerful because their energy belongs to them, not to anyone else. So when you choose silence, you're not running away, you're protecting what's sacred. You're choosing to keep your strength, your clarity, your focus for the battles that truly matter. Because not every war is worth fighting, and not every noise deserves your song. Silence creates mystery and influence in a way that noise never can. When you speak less, people notice more. When you reveal less, people wonder more, and that wonder, that curiosity, is powerful. In a world where everyone overshares, overexplains, and overexposes themselves, the one who holds back becomes magnetic, because mystery has gravity. It pulls people in. It makes them lean closer, pay more attention, and question what they think they know. When you are silent, people can't label you easily, they can't predict you, and what they can't predict, they can't control. Silence gives you an edge because it makes people read between the lines. It forces them to think, to guess, to fill in the gaps themselves. And often, what they imagine is even more impactful than what you could have said. Words define. Silence leaves space for endless possibilities. Think of someone who talks endlessly. You know everything about them, and after a while, nothing feels special. Now think of someone who speaks rarely, but with precision. Their presence feels different, heavier. When they finally do speak, everyone listens because they know those words are intentional, not just noise. That's the power of mystery. It makes the little you share feel like everything, and mystery builds influence because it creates anticipation. When people don't know what's coming next, they stay alert. They keep watching, they want to understand you. That's why leaders, thinkers, and truly powerful people are often quiet observers. They don't rush to fill the silence, they let it do the work for them. They let curiosity grow in the minds of others. In relationships, too, silence holds weight. When someone expects you to react, to justify, to explain, and you don't, it shifts the power. It makes them reflect on their own behavior. It makes them realize they don't control your emotions. That's influence without force. Mystery also protects your depth. Not everyone deserves to know your plans, your struggles, or your moves. When you keep parts of yourself private, you keep your power intact. Because what people can't see, they can't attack. What they don't understand, they can't misuse. Silence becomes your shield, and in a noisy world, mystery is rare. Everyone is busy broadcasting every detail of their life, every thought, every emotion. They want to be visible, but true strength doesn't need to shout for attention. It simply attracts it. The quiet confidence of someone who doesn't need to be seen all the time is far more powerful than constant self-promotion. So silence isn't just about not speaking. It's about creating space for your presence to do the talking. It's about holding back just enough that people never stop wanting to know more. And when you master that balance, you don't chase influence. It naturally gravitates toward you. Because in a world that shows too much, the one who hides just enough will always be unforgettable. Silence gives clarity in ways that constant noise never can. When you're always surrounded by chatter, opinions, distractions, and endless input, your mind becomes cluttered. You start absorbing other people's fears, expectations, and doubts, and slowly you lose touch with your own voice. But when you step back into silence, the fog begins to lift. You start hearing the things you've been too busy to notice, the truth that was always inside you, waiting for quiet to be revealed. In silence, you learn to separate what's real from what's temporary. You can finally ask yourself the questions that matter. What do I truly want? What do I truly feel? What actually deserves my energy? These answers don't come in noise, they come in stillness. That's why so many people fear silence, because it forces them to face themselves without the mask of distraction. When you take time away from the world's chaos, you realize how much of it was just noise pretending to be important. The criticism, the gossip, the expectations of others, they start to lose their power over you. In that quiet, you begin to see which battles are worth fighting and which ones aren't even yours to carry. You gain clarity about who is truly for you and who only stays for convenience. Silence also clears emotional clutter. When you're upset or confused, it's tempting to talk endlessly, to seek advice, to vent. But sometimes the answers don't come from more voices, they come from fewer. In stillness, your emotions settle like water in a glass. At first, they're stirred up, cloudy, impossible to see through. But with silence and time, everything falls into place. You begin to understand what you're feeling, not just react to it. And clarity isn't just about knowing what you want. It's about knowing what you don't. It's about realizing that not every opportunity is for you, not every path is yours to take. Noise pushes you to say yes to everything, to rush, to compete. Silence reminds you that you don't have to move just because others are moving. You can choose your steps with intention. Even in creativity and problem solving, silence is the birthplace of great ideas. The best decisions rarely come when you're overstimulated. They come in the calm moments, when your mind finally has space to breathe, to think freely. That's why some of the most successful people protect their mornings or take time alone. They know clarity doesn't live in constant noise. So when life feels overwhelming, when your head feels heavy with 1,000 voices, choose silence, not to escape the world, but to return to yourself. Because in that quiet, you'll remember what truly matters, what truly deserves you. And once you have that clarity, no amount of noise can shake your direction. Sometimes the smartest move isn't to speak louder or do more, it's to pause, listen, and let silence guide you back to your truth. Silence speaks louder than words in conflicts because it shifts the power dynamic without you having to lift a finger. When someone tries to provoke you, they expect an immediate reaction. They feed off your anger, your frustration, your need to defend yourself. They want to see you lose control because that gives them the illusion of control over you. But when you choose silence instead, you deny them that power, you take the oxygen out of their fire. Think about it. Arguments are like fuel. Every word you throw back only keeps the flame alive, but silence starves it. It leaves the other person with their own noise echoing back at them. It forces them to sit with their words, their actions, without your energy softening the blow. That's why silence in conflict is so unsettling. It doesn't give closure. It doesn't give comfort. It makes people face themselves, and silence doesn't mean you're weak or avoiding the truth. It means you know the truth doesn't always need defending. It exists with or without approval. You don't have to explain yourself to someone who's already decided what they want to believe. You don't have to waste your breath trying to change a mind that isn't open. Silence is the wisdom of knowing when speaking is valuable, and when it's just noise. In relationships, this is powerful. When someone disrespects you, your silence can say, "I'm not available for this," louder than any heated reply. When someone plays games to get your attention, your silence communicates that your peace is more important than their chaos. It teaches people how to treat you because it shows them what you will and will not engage with. Even in professional settings, silence holds weight. The one who doesn't rush to defend themselves in every meeting, who doesn't jump into every argument, is often seen as more composed, more in control. When you speak only when it truly matters, your words carry a gravity that endless talking never could. But silence doesn't just affect others. It affects you too. It gives you time to process before reacting. It allows your emotions to settle so you don't say something you'll regret. It keeps you in control of yourself instead of being dragged into someone else's storm. Silence in conflict is not about running away, it's about choosing your battles wisely. Not every comment deserves a response. Not every fight deserves your time. And when you realize that, you stop wasting energy proving points that don't build you. So the next time someone tries to pull you into their chaos, remember, silence isn't losing. It's choosing peace over pettiness, choosing strength over reaction, choosing to rise above noise that was never meant for your level, because sometimes the loudest statement you can make is no statement at all. Silence builds respect and authority because it teaches the world that your presence carries more weight than your words alone. When you don't speak all the time, when you don't rush to fill every pause, people start to notice that when you do speak, it's worth listening to. Your words become intentional, deliberate, and rare, and anything rare naturally becomes valuable. In a noisy world, most people talk just to be heard, but the person who speaks with purpose commands attention without even trying. They don't have to compete for the spotlight because their calm confidence already owns the room. Think of someone who walks in silently but radiates strength. You feel their energy before they've said a single word. That's what silence does. It creates an invisible aura of authority. When you don't reveal everything about yourself, people are left to wonder. They lean in closer. They listen more carefully. They're curious, drawn to you without fully knowing why. And that curiosity builds respect because it shows you're not desperate for approval. You don't need to over-explain or overshare to feel validated. Your restraint sends a message. I know my worth, and I don't have to prove it to anyone. And this doesn't just apply to strangers or acquaintances. It applies in relationships, at work, in every aspect of life. When you carry yourself with quiet assurance, when you don't respond to every little provocation, you show people that your energy isn't cheap. You're not easily shaken, not easily swayed. That steadiness is what makes people trust you, look to you, and respect you even in your silence. Silence also makes your victories louder. When you work in silence, when you move without broadcasting every step, your results speak for you. And when those results appear, they are undeniable. There's a reason the most powerful people are often the quietest about their plans. They know real authority is built in action, not in endless talking. But beyond respect from others, silence gives you self-respect. It teaches you discipline. It shows you that you don't have to engage in everything. You don't have to respond to everyone. You don't have to justify yourself to those who will never truly understand you. And that self-respect reflects outward. When you honor your own boundaries, the world learns to honor them too. So when you think of authority, don't mistake it for loudness or dominance. True authority is subtle, unforced. It's the kind that doesn't need applause to feel powerful. It's the kind that doesn't beg for respect because it naturally receives it. Silence makes your presence stronger, your words heavier, and your actions unforgettable. Because in the end, people may forget what you said, but they will never forget how your energy made them feel, and silence, used wisely, leaves an impression that echoes long after the noise fades. Silence in a noisy and restless world is more than the absence of words. It is a profound declaration of strength. It is a deliberate choice to rise above the endless chatter that demands reaction, the constant pressure to be visible, and the temptation to explain yourself to everyone. Silence teaches you that your value isn't tied to how loud you are, but to how deeply you are grounded within yourself. It reminds you that real power doesn't need an audience to exist. It doesn't need validation to feel real. When you embrace silence, you're no longer controlled by external chaos. You become the calm in the storm, the stillness that cannot be shaken. Through silence, you learn to protect what is sacred, your peace, your energy, your mind. It shields you from unnecessary battles and wasted emotions, keeping you focused on the things that truly matter. You begin to see how much of the noise around you is meaningless, how much of it is designed to distract you from your purpose. When you step back into silence, you gain clarity, not just about the world, but about yourself. You discover the voice within that whispers the truth you've been too distracted to hear. And with that clarity, you begin to move differently, not reacting impulsively, but responding intentionally. Silence also becomes a quiet force that influences the world around you. It creates mystery, leaving space for others to wonder, to respect, to listen more deeply when you finally speak. It teaches people that your words have weight because you don't throw them away carelessly. Silence builds an unspoken authority that cannot be faked. It is the confidence of someone who knows their worth and doesn't need to prove it to anyone. It's the presence that enters a room and shifts the energy without saying a word. That kind of influence doesn't come from loudness. It comes from restraint, from the ability to hold your ground in stillness. Even in conflict and chaos, silence speaks volumes. It refuses to feed what doesn't deserve life. It denies the power to those who thrive on reaction. It teaches others that you're not easily provoked, that you are not available for petty wars that only drain your soul. In relationships, silence sets boundaries more clearly than arguments ever could. In work and life, it builds a reputation of composure, focus, and quiet strength. Silence doesn't mean you don't care. It means you care more about protecting your dignity and energy than winning meaningless battles. And so, in a world addicted to noise, choosing silence is an act of rebellion, an act of self-respect, an act of power. It doesn't mean you have nothing to say. It means you value yourself enough to wait for the right moment, the right reason, the right audience. It means you're no longer controlled by the need to be seen or heard constantly. Instead, you let your presence speak, your actions speak, your results speak. Because when silence is used with intention, it doesn't make you invisible. It makes you unforgettable. Thank you for sharing your time and attention with me today. I hope these words have reminded you of the quiet strength that already lives within you, the kind of power that doesn't need noise to be felt. In a world that constantly demands your voice, may you find the courage to embrace your silence and let it guide you to clarity, peace, and purpose. Carry this message with you, not just as inspiration for today, but as a reminder that true power doesn't always roar. Sometimes it whispers, and sometimes it simply stands still. Trust yourself, trust your journey, and never underestimate the impact of your calm presence in a chaotic world. Until we meet again, keep walking with quiet confidence, and let your silence speak louder than anything words could ever say. Thank you, and goodbye.